Good afternoon, everyone. Today is World Architecture Day, and this webinar is to commemorate that auspicious occasion. I wish all my architects friends here and also the participants the best wishes of World Architecture Day. I am very delighted to bring three leading personalities from the world of architecture here, who will share a bit of their knowledge and experience on working with wood as a material in architecture. Before we start, we have my colleague Ritesh Kumar, Assistant Director Business Development, with us to make the opening remarks. I request Ritesh to switch on your video.
Yeah, thank you, Jimmy. I hope
Ritesh.
Jimmy, I hope I'm
audible. You are visible and audible. Ritesh is an accomplished professional with around 16 years of active experience in wood products and allied industry. He became part of FIA family 7 years back as business development manager and other activities. He was associated with leading brands in woodworking at different leadership roles in production, quality, product development, and vendor management. Academically, he is decorated with a PG diploma in wood science from IPRITI and also a PG diploma in management from KJ Somaya Institute in Mumbai. He has also completed an executive program from the Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta. Now I welcome Ritesh Kumar to make the opening remarks. Over to you, Ritesh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy, for that brief intro. Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome from FII India. We thank you all for taking your time to attend this Canadian Wood webinar. As we all know, today is the World Architecture Day, and our webinar is to celebrate this auspicious occasion. I wish all my best wishes to this for this World Architecture Day to all the participants, especially our architect friends. During this session, we will be discussing the role of wood as a material in architecture. To make this important day more informative, we have curated this webinar by inviting three renowned architects who are passionate about using wood in their designs. I would like to thank our speakers, Mr. Pravir Sethi, Mr. Sanjiv De, and Mr. Sanjay Goel on sharing their views and thoughts about the subject. I will leave their brief introduction to my colleague and moderator of the webinar, Dr. Jimmy Thomas. Before we start the deliberation, it is my pleasure to briefly explain who we are and what we do. Forestry Innovation Investment is popularly known as Canadian Wood and is a non-profit crown agency from the Government of British Columbia, Canada. We have mandate to promote the use of timber from BC in offshore market, including India. Since 2012, FIA India has been actively promoting the use of Canadian wood by creating awareness and educating the target audience about the properties and applications of this timber species. Amongst many other initiatives, Canadian Wood organizes seminars, webinars, training workshops, and sharing of best practices at no cost to its audience and beneficiaries. FI supports the manufacture of developing prototypes through product trials and help achieving target production by product quality evaluation. Our well-qualified and experienced team provides techno-commercial solutions through training workshops, on-site advices at project site or shop floors, along with regular interaction and coordination with the stakeholders. The team assists importers and consumers to source Canadian wood from local market as well as direct import from Canadian suppliers based on their requirements. We provide technical support to the architects, designers, and specifiers in selecting the right species and grade combination for their given application. FI also promotes the use of wood in structural applications, including building with wood. We may support through technical and material guidance, as well as hand-holding and on-site supervision. Canadian wood is sourced from sustainably managed and certified forest and are available in duly seasoned, sized, and graded form, which is almost in ready-to-use condition through a network of 41 stockists in all major cities. Thank you once again for joining this webinar. With this, I would like to hand it over to the Dr. Jimmy Thomas to begin the webinar. Over to you, Jimmy.
Thank you, Ritesh, for the wonderful opening remarks. I'll be inviting each panelist prior to their respective presentations We all are looking forward to the very interesting next 45 minutes of highly informative presentations of 15 minutes each by the panelists, which will be followed by roughly 30 minutes of Q&A session responding to the questions from you audience. I encourage the audience to type your questions in the Q&A section on your screen while the panelist is speaking, rather than waiting to finish all the presentations. Please do not put your questions in the chat box, just a reminder. So let me welcome and introduce Architect Pravir Sethi. Please switch on your video, Architect Pravir. Architect Pravir is the principal architect at Studio Hinge, Mumbai. He graduated in architecture in the year 2002 and then worked with Samira Rathod Design Associates for a year. In 2004, he earned his master's in architectural design from the Bartlett School of Architecture, UCL, London, where his interest in installation design and responsive and flexible design was nurtured. In the years to follow in London, Pravir went on to work with some of the top names in British architecture, including Marx Barfield Architects and David Chipperfield Architects, before returning to India in 2009. After a stint as project head with Ratan Batliboy Architects and then nearly 4 years heading up large projects as associate with Sanjay Goel Architects in Mumbai, he founded his Studio Hinge in early 2014. Pravir remains involved with academia, having served as visiting faculty at schools of architecture and design, including BSSA, KRVIA, and ISDA persons, etc. He steers the studio with an interest in detail and the coming togetherness of objects, from furniture and lighting to buildings. He enjoys exploring the narrative of a project. He has secured many awards, honors, and appreciation, such as L Decor International Award, World's Young Designer Forum, IIID Design Excellence Award, Architects, and many more. With this, I welcome Architect Pravir Sethi to deliver his talk. Over to you, Pravir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for having me. I hope I can do justice to this talk. I'm going to jump in straight away without further ado and share the screen with you. Yes. Can you confirm you have the screen?
Yes, it's
sir.
Looking fine.
Okay, great. So we'll move ahead. So the talk is titled Use of Wood in Architecture. But I'm afraid my projects are going to focus a little bit more on interior and product design. So I'll jump straight into the first one, which is the Cricket Club of India. And this is a library for a members club in South Bombay, which is currently or just before the refurbishment in this sort of condition. And some of the problems we were facing is that very few people actually came to the library. And even when they came, it was only to pick up or drop off books. And the challenge was how to get people back to come into a space like this. So we all have this experience of sitting under the tree and reading from our childhood, hopefully. And that's kind of the experience which we were hoping to bring back, because this is on the 4th floor of a building. And although there are trees outside, we were trying to bring some element of that inside. So the idea was that we abstract this and create it in a way that we develop the design. What if the bookshelves themselves could be like trees? And we started developing this, and we came up with a section like this. So I'll come back to that in a moment, but basically library is conceived as being in 3 zones, where you have a sort of browsing area, and then a lounge reading area, which is the part, sorry, I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, can you?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, great. So the lighter green area in between, at the edge here where the windows are, that's conceived as a sort of lounge area. The in-between is the bookshelves that look like trees. And this I will talk about later, but that's a multi-purpose area which can change use. Right? This is what the ceiling plan looks like. So the idea is that with the trees, they also branch out overhead to form canopies. And this was the kind of reference or inspiration image that we started out by looking at. And from here, it's not a big jump to go to here. So this is the proposal for the actual design now. And you can see the trees abstracted into bookshelves. You can see the canopies going overhead where the branches of the trees join up ahead. So all of this material, almost everything that you see that looks like wood here is actually wood. So it's not made in ply, it's made in solid wood. This is actually Western hemlock. And for the branches of the tree, so I should be clear that the wood here has been used structurally only for the shelves. For the branches that are supporting the shelves, we've actually used an MS box section and cladded it with wood. So it's a 19 by 19, it's a 25 by 25 mm MS box section, and then cladded with 20 mm of Western hemlock on both sides. The shelves, the cladding to the tree trunk. So everywhere that you see a tree trunk, it's basically disguising a column. The services are moving around within that. The flooring here is probably the only wooden material which is not sourced from Canadian, because the client was keen to use a ready-made engineered or laminate wood floor. But everything from these circular bookshelves on the tree to the ones around the tree to the canopy above. So looking down this, you get a sense of, it's quite clear that it came from this idea of the canopies above. The windows as well. In the windows, we've used a different sort of wood. We've used yellow cedar, and yellow cedar was used because it's basically an external grade timber. So we've created new windows, part of which have fixed glass and part of which are openable. And even the windows are actually shaped to go along with to continue the same metaphor. So this is the lounge reading area with fixed benches and loose chairs that we were talking of. This is the entrance. So just before you come to the reception here, you have a waiting area, and that's also a tree, of course. That's the reception block, which is conceived as a kind of drum, which has foldable shutters to the front. The foldable shutters are also used for notice boards, notifications of new books, etc. And this is the children's section. So the door there goes towards the bathroom. This is a smaller reception for kids. And you can see that there's a concealed door in the side wall here that is going to basically connect to a kids' play area, which is part of a different project that we are not involved with, but the children's library basically connects with the children's play area. You can see how we've also used the wood to form canopies using these kind of jolly-like structures, and that also slightly is going to partially hide the AC units. This is more of the kids area. And then we created a small workspace in the corner, which is not supposed to be co-working, but the idea is that it's supposed to be a space where you can sit quietly and do your work. And these are loose tables, so they can be rearranged. Here are some of the drawings that we've created, some of the detailing that you can see how the shelves and the tree trunk sort of radiate outwards. I'm not going to get into this level of detail for this discussion, but basically the MS pipes are also used as conduits to carry the wiring from the floor to the ceiling and then to the lighting. We've used metal pins to connect the shelves to the tree trunk. And this is the progress of work on site as of about 3 weeks ago. So you can kind of see the joinery coming together. Some lighting mock-ups. There's a small video here. So as you can see, it turned out quite close to as we had imagined it in the renders and in the drawings. There wasn't really much variation, which is great because it means that we could go ahead as imagined. One of the other challenges here, which is not really connected with wood construction as much, is how do we deal with books that no one is reading as much anymore because everyone has transitioned to digital. And there we talk about this idea that traditionally this is what the library looked like, and how could you turn from being this kind of reading in isolation idea to more of a classroom style layout, or more of a workshop or a discussion style layout. So the idea is that rather than a house of books, the library becomes a house of knowledge, a house of learning, and that learning could be through shared experiences with other people, which is something that we all greatly missed during COVID. And even though we're here on Zoom, I'm looking forward, I must say, to doing more of these online, or less of these online and more of them in physical presence of others. So we wanted to create a space which can have book readings, film screenings, workshops, and there was an adjacent space to the library, which is basically a dance studio, also by the club. And we wanted to take this studio, which is used only for 4 to 6 hours a week, and make it something that is multi-purpose, that is shared use. And so that's this space in the corner that you see here. So we have a screen, projector screen that comes down, and you have loose seating here as well that can be arranged with stackable chairs. And the same stackable chairs and folding tables can basically be used to create a more informal workshop style layout. And these are renders of that space. So here we've used a sort of twisting pergola in the ceiling. It's made of kind of alternating sine waves. So the highest point here becomes the lowest point at the opposite end. And this also helps us conceal some of the beam drops in the ceiling services and the air conditioning. So that's in the use as a workshop space, and that's in the use as a projection space. So that's some of the mock-ups of the ceiling in progress. Yeah, I'd like to now talk quickly about the second project that we have for today, which is an installation that we did for the IDAC Expo. And the material was kindly provided to us by Canadian Wood, and the theme of the pavilion was sustainability. So we started thinking about sustainability in terms of, there's an exhibition or an installation for a seminar, and usually typically what happens after these installations are dismantled is that they are junked, or at the best recycled. So we thought, can we design something which is made up of component parts which will have a use in an installation, as well as in a functional piece of furniture that can be then put together or used after. So what you see on the right is our starting point, which is basically 6" by 2" Western hemlock, about 8 feet long. And we've tried to cut as many pieces out of that. And the red parts that you see are half cuts. So it's only the gray parts here, the light gray parts shaded, which is the actual wastage. So from the outset, we've tried to minimize the wastage in the design. You can see how all the components come together here and then forming the assembled chair. These are just some sketches and markups. So we designed a chair and a bar stool. The final bar stool is actually slightly different from this. We didn't use these members on the back. We used a steel rod, and we realized we needed a steel rod at the base as well. In retrospect, that could have been also done in timber, but we just found that in that particular case, the timber section was looking a bit heavy, so we reduced it down to steel. And that's the only non-wood part in the entire design. So we initially, while playing around, we made models of this, and we made these models in MDF, in 4mm and 2mm thick MDF, and that's how we put together the chair and the bar stool. And then eventually we had the pieces cut and we assembled these in a workshop, right? And then we decided to play around with these pieces and see what we could do. So these were just some iterations of us working in the studio, trying to have some fun with these pieces and seeing, basically the one on the top right here is the one that we started to develop. And that's what it turns into. So at the start, if you look at the top left image, basically the entire installation is mounted on the wall. It could equally be mounted on the floor or the ceiling, but we chose the wall. And as and when you require the pieces of furniture, you basically remove the bits of wood from the wall and you assemble them into chairs and bar stools. And so what's interesting about this for me is that as an installation, it's also dynamic. because it means that as you require furniture and you take pieces off of the wall, the installation is constantly changing, and then that leaves you with decisions about where do you take it off, do you want to use it uniformly or not. So it's dynamic, it's a bit playful, it's a bit sculptural, and at the end of the day, it's sustainable, not just because of the material used, which is of course like FSC certified timber, but it's sustainable because of the consideration of the life cycle cost, not life cycle cost, but life cycle use. So this is an installation which, once it stops being an installation, starts turning into functional pieces of furniture. And that's just kind of exploded diagram of the various pieces. We can see here a bit of the construction process. So this was all made quite manually. There was no laser cutting or CNC or digital fabrication in this case. It was all handmade in a workshop. That's the final installation as we put it up. So on the left, you see the frontal view of it with a little one bar stool, one chair, and the complete installation. And then this is a more oblique view of the same. And these are some details. So what we actually did was we put a box like this at the exhibition with the pieces of the model that we'd used to design it, and we encouraged people to take away some part of it. And here are some details which actually interesting things started to happen that we hadn't counted upon, like the play of light and shadow, with the way that these elements overlap each other. And this is the final use of the chairs, which is actually in the same studio where I'm sitting right now. So we decided to take the chairs and use them at our own studio. And that's another view of the same. And that's the completed life cycle of these. I'm still waiting to use the bar stools, by the way. So if anybody knows of any requirement, then we're looking forward to that. And yeah, that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Architect Pravir, for an elaborate presentation on your ongoing current works. And I see that you have a strong passion about using wood in your projects. Thank you again. We'll come back after all the presentations for you to attend the questions.
Thank you.
So next, I would like to introduce Architect Sanjiv De from Bangalore. Please come on board. Yeah, Sanjiv De is the Director Design and Projects, RSP Design Consultants India Private Limited, based at Bangalore. He is also the founder and principal architect of Sanjiv De Architects. He is an architect with close to 30 years of experience in the building industry, in which 20 plus years experience is in planning and design of residential, commercial, and hospitality projects in India, Middle East, and UK. He has also successfully completed townships, IT parks, metro projects, etc. He led design teams on large and complex design projects from concept to completion with seamless integration of multidisciplinary services, structure, function, and aesthetics. A careful balance of aesthetic sensibility that is grounded in the local context, energy efficiency, and cost effectiveness are the hallmarks of his design works. His keen interest in wood and its sustainable use in buildings and also in furniture has been the bonding factor between us. He is a passionate furniture designer and maker who runs a small furniture making unit here in Bangalore. Sanjiv postgraduated in construction management, project management from the University of Reading, UK, and is a lead accredited professional from the USGBC, and has several research papers exploring these subjects and different projects. So with these few words, I welcome Architect Sanjiv De for delivering his talk. Over to you, Sanjiv. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy, for the very comprehensive introduction. And of course, thanks to the audience for squeezing in time on a Monday afternoon to come and attend this. Let me share my screen. So, second, what's going on? So, can you see the screen?
Not yet. Just reshare it and
Okay.
stop sharing and reshare. Yeah, you just need to make it into the full screen mode, presentation mode. Yeah, all set. Thanks.
Yeah, so thanks again. And while I was struggling with this, I was just thinking about the previous presentation. And yeah, that was a very warm presentation of various interiors and installations. And I'm in a way glad that I'm not presenting projects over here to get directly compared with such good works from Pravir Sethi. So, but yes, to quickly set a context, as I said, the presentation is not about any of my building projects over here. It's also not about wood as it is presently used in the Indian industry. It's as doors and windows, wall panelings, pergolas, wooden floorings to embellish concrete buildings. This is something different. This is more about the building itself, the concrete structure itself, the structure itself rather, the framing structure, the load-bearing structure itself. And it's a discussion about, or I just try to build up an argument about moving on from one building material to another building material. We are talking in the scale of millions of tons of material and switching over from one to another. It's an ambitious topic, but then yeah, that should be the future. So the question which might arise immediately is why? Why replace concrete? Why replace the conventional? And that is steel and concrete, of course. So we have had some beautiful buildings over centuries which have been done in concrete. And so we have loved concrete, its endurance and its workability. We have built dams, very reliable, which have not broken down over time. We have built bridges, which have not buckled over time. And we have built so much in concrete. We have built almost everything around us in concrete. We have built infrastructure, we have built buildings, everything in concrete. And today, to the extent that after water, concrete is the most widely used substance on the planet. And like all good things in access, it is presently creating problems. Let's look into some statistics over here. In India, in particular, the total energy that is generated by the country per year, the building industry consumes about 37% of it. That's mostly towards the complete, that 37% includes operations and the building both. And we emit 24% of the carbon emission of the country from buildings. That's quite a bit, isn't it? Now, if you look into the Western statistics, you will find that it's more than that. It's almost 50% of the energy which is generated by the Western communities is consumed in buildings and operating of buildings. And almost a similar figure, around 50%, of carbon emission. Of this carbon emission, cement and steel has got a role, 4 to 8% cement, 4% steel. It's quite a bit. We are talking in millions of tons again. And what is the consequence? We have built huge concrete structures around us. And to make it further, we have got a huge urban housing shortage. 3 million people are moving from rural areas into urban areas. And it is creating a housing shortage as we speak today of 34 million units. And this is the government response to it. We are building many, many thousands of these concrete buildings around us to be able to cater to this requirement of immigration. So, where is the option? What is the option? Presently, we're talking about wood and reviewing if that is a possibility. Wood is a renewable resource. Trees absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and release oxygen, unlike just the opposite of concrete. After harvesting wood, it holds carbon from as long as it is there. Wood stores more carbon. This is very interesting. Wood stores more carbon than it emits during its harvest, production, transport, and installation. Having said that, even if these transportations are far away, it is then obvious to say that by swapping cement and steel for timber, we can build projects that are carbon negative. Today, after at least 2 decades of a lot of research and experimentation, our industry experts who have been working with timber can say with a lot of confidence that timber is the most versatile material in the building industry. And when we talk timber, we actually mean mass timber. Yeah? What is mass timber? A mass timber is basically stacked lumber one over another, which is structurally bonded, structurally glued, and then compressed into very strong members which can be used for construction, which can be used to make beams, columns, and every kind of structural components in the building. Moving on, let's try to understand what is more, which is available under mass timber. CLT has been very popular. CLT is just nothing but same as what we have talked about before. It is just that the lumber is arranged in grains in alternate directions. So they become much stiffer, much stronger, and much more better usable across all dimensions for construction. It is 40% lighter than equivalent strength concrete. So if we talk about density to strength ratio, it's 40% lighter than concrete. It also reduces on-site time. It is lighter, it's completely done, cut to size off-site, and then brought over and installed. So it's much quicker on-site to construct. With these 2 slides where we have talked about its strength and talked about its light density and on-site quick time, obviously means that there's a cost component to it. And there's various aspects which are self-explanatory, which includes it will reduce labor cost, lightweight and hence easy workability, off-site construction, and the various other things which we have just over here makes the construction cost of timber, if not more, if not less, almost equivalent to using concrete. And this gap is going to gradually change, and gradually as advancements happen, constructing with timber is going to be much cheaper than constructing with concrete. This is a very interesting picture of how resilient timber is to construction. It can take significant amount of lateral loads like wind and seismic pressures. This is just a picture of a laboratory in Japan, which had a shake table on which a 7-story high building was actually tested for seismic load, and it came out completely undamaged. More so, fire resistance, which has always been a myth with timber. See, when a building is in fire, may it be concrete, may it be steel, may it be timber building, the fire starts in the same way. Timber, concrete breaks, steel buckles, and wood burns. But when it comes to mass timber, it was discovered that it formed a layer on top, a charred layer on top, which actually became resistant to further spread of fire. And this was studied in laboratory that it can take up to 980 centigrades of fire for 3 hours, adequate evacuation time, and much more than our building codes require. It has got fantastic insulation properties to an extent that we do not need a thermal barrier between the external surface and the internal walls. Also, the kind of thermal insulation which is used over timber itself being a bad conductor of heat and cold, is much less. So we require lesser insulation to be able to create the same human comfort within the buildings. So wood is an alternative. There is an answer in there. But then what are the various challenges which is not letting us use this material? It's also time to go back into one of the previous slides where we talked about the housing. And there's some more calculations which were made to check out. If that housing project, if the shortage of housing, which was about 34 million housing, if it is actually addressed with concrete, there will be 4,200 million tons of carbon dioxide emission that will cause. If this project in concrete is spread over 10 years, there will be 16% increase in carbon dioxide emission per year. How much of an impact will that have on our air quality? Something to be looked at. A rethink is an absolute critical stage now. We really need to rethink what is the next step. While we say that, investments towards research and innovation in design and construction lags behind a lot in other industries. Construction firms invest less than 1% of their revenue into new technologies. So what is important to make this change happen? It is very important that our construction firms, our development firms, come and make investments into the manufacturing of mass timber and adopt them into the buildings. Our design professionals should think more than just creating fancy buildings and brand names, and look into creating value, meaningful sustainable buildings. Policies and codes in India need to become more explicit, more encouraging for professionals to be able to use timber in buildings. Our municipal authorities need to understand mass timber construction, the problems which concrete has created, and be able to address it while they're improving buildings. Training and workshop is extremely important for our design professionals and our workforce, so that they understand the details and how the buildings work with timber. Promotions and subsidies from the government would actually help the client body of the construction industry to be able to come forward and use this as a material. And this really happens. It really happens. The construction industry is a very, very slow industry. But if these steps are taken, our very next generation should be able to see and improving urban fabric and air quality. I hope I'm able to leave you with a thought to look at further. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Architect Sanjiv. Your presentation was very enlightening, I should say. We should think and act according to this thought process. So next, our next speaker is Architect Sanjay Goel. Architect Sanjay is the principal architect of DesignX Architects Ludhiana. He is also the chairman of Indian Institute of Architects Punjab chapter and former chairman of IEA Ludhiana Center. I request architect Sanjay to be on screen. Yeah, you're here. Thank you. He's an active member of the Indian Institute of Architects and has contributed at various levels such as Joint Honorary Secretary, Executive Member, and member of many committees, etc. When the Government of India selected Ludhiana as the smart city development, architect Sanjay became the first and perhaps the only IAA member as the director of that special purpose vehicle. Later, he was awarded as exemplary in class for his contributions as the director of the Ludhiana Smart City Limited. He has successfully set the trend for other architects to be chosen in future for smart cities. He writes regularly in periodicals and architectural magazines. He has attended many conferences and delivered talks as honorable speaker on various aspects of architecture and planning. He is visiting or guest facility in many architectural colleges and universities of Punjab and was awarded professorship by the IIT Roorkee. He has secured many other awards, honors, and appreciations during his career. With these few words, I would like to welcome architect Sanjay Goel to deliberate on today's subject. Thank you. Over to you.
Sure. Thank you very much, Jamie sir. And again, a good afternoon, everyone. So first of all, my heartiest congratulations to all on World Architecture Day today. We all know that it is celebrated worldwide on first Monday of October every year. And thanks to Canadian Wood Company for giving me the opportunity to share my views with my architects and technocrats today on World Architecture Day. I will touch upon the role of wood as a material in architecture. So my firm is DesignX Architects. So founded in 1993, I graduated from Chandigarh College of Architecture same year. And for the last 29 years, I'm doing practice in Ludhiana, Punjab, and operating all over Punjab, Chandigarh, and neighboring states. We are primarily working on residential, commercial, industrial, institutional projects, and doing many hospitals as well as education institutions. Apart from that, as Jimmy sir introduced that I am also one of the director in Ludhiana Smart City Limited since 2016, and now contributing into the Smart City mission as well. So for also a few of our projects. So coming to the World Architecture Day today, and in the morning as well, we had a good celebration by Punjab chapter in Ludhiana. So this year theme is architecture for well-being. It's really a need of the hour and a good topic suggested by United Nations. We have seen the last 2-3 years, the kind of pandemic and the problems being faced by everyone, and architects must lead to create well-being for everyone through their buildings. The importance of urban design goes far beyond feel-good aesthetics. A number of studies have shown that growing up in a metropolitan city increases the risk for other disorders. The layout and architecture of a health center can improve the lives of patients. The new conception of medical care facilities is moving away from monotonous spaces, committing to the interpretation of color and light. This way, spaces impact patients' mood and bodily self-image. We all know that architects have to shape their buildings well. Thereafter, they shape architects, and our building must be more people-friendly, environment-friendly. And that is the theme, architecture for well-being. A few words from famous architects, Zaha Hadid. Architecture is really about well-being. I think that people want to feel good in a space. On the one hand, it's about shelter, but it's also about pleasure. The intention is to really carve out of a city civic spaces, and the more it is accessible to a much larger mass in public, and it's about people enjoying that space. That makes life that much better. If you think about housing, education, whether schools and hospitals, these are all very interesting projects because in the way you interpret this special experience. So coming to the origin of wood, wood is one of the longest standing building materials in existence. When I started my career in architecture in 1988 in Chandigarh, I think before that even we were sharing the use of wood in our projects. Homes built over 10,000 years ago used timber as a primary source for construction materials. Sledges made of wood were used in Northern Europe as early as 7000 BC. The oldest wooden building is the Nanchen Temple in China, dating from 7082 AD. So we can see the use of wood, how old it is, and still day after day, the use is increasing on various fronts. Wood composites. So we can see the daily use of plywood, chipboard, fiberboard, gypsum board, cement board, particle board, panel hardboard, tempered hardboard. So different kinds of board have different uses, and architects and designers are using them for their different kind of projects for different outcomes. So there is a lot of flexibility and a lot of opportunities. So now why architects choose wood? We all know that primarily it is for aesthetics, because the kind of aesthetics in interiors we can get with wood is wonderful. Although earlier the wood was meant only for doors, windows, or ventilators, but later on its used has increased beyond that, not only for furniture, but in today's time, we are using wood for everything into the interiors, whether it is our four walls of any space, for wall paneling and carving, or even false ceilings, and for wooden flooring as well. So wood enhances energy efficiency, tensile strength is very good, and it is one of the best renewable material. Sound absorption is excellent, really processed for use. Wood is biodegradable too. Wood is the most versatile building material in the construction industry. You can see the photographs that how we can make different architectural uses into different kind of interiors for different shapes and sizes. You can bend it, you can turn it, layer it, and slot it together. So the kind of flexibility we can't achieve in other building materials so easily. So wood as a sustainable product, we all know its quality being renewable. Unlike other building materials like concrete and steel, wood is renewable. It can be grown and harvested multiple times. And same was shared by my friends, the earlier speakers. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. Wood waste products can be recycled and transformed into new products. Also, innovative designs can optimize the uses of materials to reduce waste. The carbon footprint. Wood harvested from sustainably managed forest has a smaller carbon footprint, unlike other construction materials. Also, trees absorb carbon dioxide during photosynthesis. Now, wooden architecture in my part, I am sharing my points from Ludhiana, Punjab. We were given a chance by a client to design cottages in Himachal, and we can see the uses of wood in hill stations since many decades, that how wood has been used for flooring, false ceilings, and various applications. You can see in the photographs that architecture in North India, especially in the hills of Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, and Jammu and Kashmir. And coming to the wood industry in India, which is widely scattered, Indian woodworking industry is one of the fastest growing industries in India's economy. India possesses around more than 1 lakh registered woodware units. Wood has always been a major part of Indian handicrafts, uniquely personifying Indian heritage. India woodwork industry uses various kinds of woods like teak wood, walnut, red cedar, etc. The wooden handicraft of India is draped with a vast cultural and ethnic diversity, which is applied to a range of themes, techniques, and crafts. India woodwork industry has not only specialized in serving architectural purposes, but also manufactures furniture both in traditional as well as ultra-modern style. So architects fraternity is very happy. They can get traditional as well as modern furniture and everything for their construction related projects. And clients do demand wood, especially for their new bungalows, residences. You can see the wood industry of India scattered from top Jammu and Kashmir, from Madhya Pradesh to Punjab to Assam to Maharashtra, Karnataka, Bihar, and West Bengal. So now, why India should import wood from sustainable sources? We know that in India, we are fast losing our green cover. For the last couple of decades, the highways are coming up, new highways are coming up, existing highways width going to be increased. We are cutting more trees rather than growing trees. The forests that are managed in a way to prevent damage to wildlife, landscape, and ecosystem are sources for sustainable wood. India should protect the little green belt it has left. India does not have sustainable forest management like some other developed countries. The country should play its part in saving the earth and its people by importing sustainable wood. So more applications of wood. We can see not only doors and windows, furnitures of all types for our drawing room, living room, dining room, bedrooms, dress rooms, puja room, and many more spaces. The use in the exteriors is also increasing day after day. More and more people are going away from traditional stone cladding and paints, and they are preferring wooden exteriors. So wood is in use, in demand, not only for interiors, for exteriors as well, including the structural components in various projects. So as an architect, we can see our space is comprising of 4 walls, ceiling, and a floor, and how within a building, we can take about any building, starting from a residential project, that floor area is now in demand in wooden in many of the projects. Ceiling, of course, already there in various materials, including wooden, and furniture. We can see the variety of furniture in various colors and textures of wood family. Building structures, decks for outdoors, joinery for all types of door frames, doors, windows, and ventilators, staircase and its railings, cladding, roofing, and walls. Of course, pergola and gazebo. So all these things make job of an interior designer or architect more challenging as well as interesting, that how with a single material, with different applications, with different colors, texture, shades, lengths, widths, you can create interiors of international class. So a few more applications of wood being used for exteriors. So you can see the modern architecture as well as traditional architecture. And again, another few examples of wood being used for interiors, whether it's a living room or a kitchen or a dining area. So you can add a lot of aesthetically sound interiors with proper lighting and colors and planning. Another example of wood being used for wall paneling. It is being used, I mean to say paneling, not only in residential projects, in commercial, in hotels, or in offices as well. And it really adds more output and more pleasure to the interiors if the paneling is of right color and right texture as per right taste for the right client. Different application of wood for flooring purposes. Wall cladding as well. So now a few photographs of use of wood in the hills. We were doing a resort in Himachal Pradesh near to Punjab, And there we have used different types of wood for different purposes. We were able to import ready-made, huts, and the job was just to assemble the things at site and to get the best results. On the top left-hand photograph, you can see the movable furniture as well as the fixed components in an interior, how within a short span of time, with lesser money and energy, you can get a better view and better comfortable livable spaces. Few more of our residential projects in Punjab, Chandigarh. Few more projects where wood has been used for different applications at different places. We were also working for Shri Sai Dham Temple in Punjab, and it is based and related with the Shirdi Sai Baba Temple near Aurangabad in South India. And we recently worked out this small temple of Dwarka Mai. So here again, the wood has been used very carefully for this holistic project. And few more applications of Canadian wood used in our projects, not only for cupboards or railings or for storage cabinets, many more applications. And the good news is that clients are really very happy that they are using some new materials in India. Otherwise, for the last many years, and we were using Indian timber, and now the new texture and the soft wood used in various projects being liked by not only we people as architects or interior designers, but our contractors and clients as well. The positive impact of wood on well-being, keeping in mind that today's World Architecture Day theme, wood may be able to be applied indoors to provide stress reduction as a part of the evidence-based and biophilic design. Living in an environment with more wooden features and furniture can actually support good mental health. The US Environmental Protection Agency found that hardwood floor improve indoor air quality and prevent dust, mold, and allergies from accumulating when compared to other flooring options such as carpets. Workers in offices with wooden interiors conveyed feeling of innovation, energy, and comfort. And it has been found to be true because we have used many times the use of wooden, especially for the flooring. Now, coming to the conclusion, as we were given just 12 to 15 minutes, although there are many more things to be shared, but keeping the time constraints, now the conclusion is that as per my earlier friend's presentation too, wood is renewable, recyclable, and natural material. It is building material which is firm and easy to dress. The role of wood in building industry is still increasing day by day. More and more people, even the younger generation, is demanding wood for different applications in their upcoming new flats, residences, bungalows. We started from doors, windows, and furniture, and now we can use it in every aspect of the building, like flooring, false ceilings, paneling, partitions, and structures. Many other materials in the construction industry, like metal or ceramic, etc., are also widely using wood grain design in their products. So at the end of the project, we can see the wood texture, not only in the wood finishes, but into the other building materials as well. This shows the inclination of masses towards the wood textures. Last but not the least, wood is one of the few natural building materials that is carbon positive, has low energy production, good for health and well-being, and is a natural insulator. Government should invest and promote wooden to be used in various projects. And as one of the director of Smart City Mission, as well the chairman of Punjab chapter, definitely we will write to Government of India to promote wood in upcoming various projects as much as possible. With this, I am very much thankful to all of you for giving me a patient hearing. And again, a great World Architecture Day to everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Architect Sanjay Goel, for a very elaborate talk on the various aspects of or the versatility of timber, their properties, their applications, etc. I really enjoyed your talk.
Thank you, sir.
So now we conclude with the presentations and entering into the Q&A session. So I would request both architects Pravir Sethi and Sanjiv De to come on board. We will start your video on so that we can have a Q&A, proper Q&A. So we have so many questions received from the audience in the order of the presentations. I will ask questions. So the first set of questions will definitely go to Architect Pravir. So Pravir, please switch on your video. Yeah, yes. I can see you. So first of all, our best wishes for you all to on this occasion of World Architects Day. So thank you for coming along as well. The first question, Architect Pravir, what are your views using sustainable products in projects and how important sustainability is for you in your practice and your overall architectural designs?
Okay. I think it has to be looked at something more than just a movement which is popular right now. I think that we have to do, there's a lot of pressure on us because we are seeing the effects of not being sustainable all around, whether that is in construction and construction one, as Sanjiv De pointed out, is one of the largest contributors towards global warming. So I do think that we have a definite responsibility to address this. The question becomes also how to sometimes convince a client in the case where sustainable approach is often, not always, but often at the start, having a higher capital expenditure. So we have to then start talking about life cycle cost and the cost over the entire life of the project. I'll give you an example that is not from wood. If we talk about LED lighting, or if we talk about let's say VRV air conditioning, both of them are more expensive than conventional. But LED has become the default, the go-to right now. VRV is on the way to becoming that. And both of them are by default more expensive as a start, as of now.
Right.
I think as the usage grows and they become more commonly and widely used, that will of course drive the costing down. But even when they're more expensive as a capital expenditure, one tries to convince a client saying that, yes, install a VRV air conditioner because after 2 years of usage, it's all savings in terms of power. So the motivation for use for a client needs to be not just saving the world, although that is definitely the main agenda, but they need to also be able to see some gain in it for themselves.
Wonderful. Actually, sustainability is not for, the best sustainability practices, they are not just for us, it is for the future generations also. Whatever we are following now is the benchmark and platform for the next few generations to come. Anyway, thank you. The next question is going to Architect Sanjiv De. He was talking, batting on our structural use of timber in buildings. So the question is also related to that. Traditionally, solid wood is being used in construction in India since generations, but it has been losing its ground since last many decades. We have almost lost the art of working with wood. As per you, what are the factors and where the trend went wrong? Can you just look into that as an architecture?
So if you're talking about history, wood was being used like lumber, and our demand was more suburban. We didn't have multi-stories, we had smaller buildings to cater to, and hence seismic loads was not a challenge. Concrete was still to come in its full advanced form, and wood was the right option to build with. But over time, as we cities, multi-story buildings, timber lost its charm. And concrete, of course, as you saw in the presentation, became a very versatile material to be used. And it still is. It's just that we have become conscious because of the damages it is causing to the environment. And parallelly, timber has advanced. Timber in the form of mass timber, in the form of the layered timbers, have become a very, very good option to concrete. And it can replace concrete to make multi-story buildings, and that is happening around the world. So then why not? This is exactly why timber had faded away because of some mass fires and using as raw lumber, untreated, in such forms. But now it is specially treated in the industry. Mass timber is made out of it. It can replace and compete with concrete and do better than concrete. Hence, there's a good possibility, and actually there's no option. It should come back into the industry again.
Yeah. Thank you. I would just wanted to supplement with a comment that out of the total carbon dioxide or carbon footprint, what we are talking about, approximately 40% is coming from the building industry. We all thought that the major carbon contribution is from the industries, manufacturing industries, but it is not. Actually, recently there was a nationwide seminar organized by the CAA and IGBC, and the deliberations. I listened to those talks there. Many of the mood echoed there is that the same what you are now batting on. We need to augment the use of timber. Use more and more timber along with concrete. We cannot replace concrete on a single day. We have to look for a slow process. Get more and more wood into the mainstream. So main contributor of carbon dioxide and natural negative impact is coming from not from the industry, it's from the concrete industry, because to make the concrete we need cement, we need the second largest natural resource, that is water and sand. So all these natural ingredients we are consuming in a fast way. So thanks for bringing this topic into today's talk. I should congratulate for you to give this enlightening talk here. So thanks for that. So we will look for more and more buildings with wood. So the next question is to architect Sanjay Goel. Yeah, it's a very interesting question, and I think architect Sanjay is the right person to answer that. How wood can be made as integral part of your design process and also an important part of the curriculum in architecture by the universities and colleges, because I see there is a lack of understanding about wood as a material among the major wood users here, and also it is not very well taught in the universities or in the curriculum. So the questioner has come up with a very apt question for the day: how well we can include the teaching about or the awareness creation about timber in our academics. Please.
Good, sir. Right, Jimmy sir. Really very good question and challenging question. Even when I was studying architecture is a 5-year degree and 10 semesters. Just one semester is primarily devoted to building materials for wood. Okay. In one semester, there are 10 subjects. So you can say just 1 month is given, or few lectures are given to one particular materials. We know that construction industry is having so many materials, right? For a building, it is just one material. We have to cover steels, bricks, sand, everything in detail, hardware, flooring, and ceiling. So I think that wood is so versatile that it must be taught around 33% of the degree time, maybe, weekly lecture. So even in our colleges that students are really working on residential or bungalows, they are more working on a bigger projects. And more bigger the project, say they are working on institutional buildings and bus stand, railway station, and many things, where uses of wood slightly keep on decreasing with the passage of time. So it must be taught as much as possible. We have seen the uses of wood, its various applications, how a young generation can incorporate use of wood for their small projects, because one person is getting the degree, the age is just 22, 23. So the first 10 years up to 32 years of age, we have to use and work on the smaller projects, maybe residential bungalows or interiors. So different applications of wood must be taught in the curriculum or during the degree time into the interior designing as well as architecture in a big way, so that students are more aware about its various application on walls and roof and flooring, but not only limited to doors, windows and ventilators. Yeah. So these are my viewpoints, and even definitely I will request the council or AICT that it has to be incorporated in a big way. Although I am also a member of board of studies in a couple of universities, we will definitely try our best to incorporate more lectures pertaining to wood as a building material. Thank you.
That's great, sir. Actually, we also identify, see, Canadian Wood is a non-profit crown corporation. We don't do any sales or manufacturing such activities. Our main mandate is to create awareness, give information. We are the knowledge partners, in fact, to this entire sector. So we have programs supporting to your views to enhance the understanding about timber. So we can work together in certain ways during the curriculum formation or even the those new syllabus upgradation, all those things. Being wood technologist, I can also support you in many ways. So thank you for the answer. It was very interesting. So the next question again, back to Pravir. Many of the softwoods which are now getting more and more popularity here in India, including Canadian wood, they are coming from different climatic conditions like cold climate or from other countries, temperate zone mainly. So do you think, or what is your outlook on use of those timbers coming from abroad? Because we don't have sufficient timber here in India. We have to depend on the imported timber. So how do you feel their performance? What do you think about their performance here in terms of workability, in terms of your own experience with the timber?
First of all, I think our perception of what makes timber good in India is very much colored by the way that we have been using mostly Burma teak. And Burma teak that we use now, so-called Burma teak, is not really Burmese at all. It's coming from MP and CP, Central Provinces, which is MP. So a lot of stuff is being passed off as Burma teak, which isn't. So in India, I feel that perception is that a good wood needs to be a hardwood. It needs to be close-grained. It needs to be, termite resistant, dark in color, dense, heavy. Now, some of these things, any softwood, Canadian or any other, is not. Like a softwood by definition is not dense in grain, so it is going to be lighter, right? And we have this, you can say, conception or misconception that it's wood of an inferior quality, that it's used for packaging, that it's used for this and that. Now, I think we need to start moving past that misconception, because the Burma wood, obviously, even if it is coming through, it's mostly either salvaged, if it's real Burma wood, old Burma wood, right? Or it's not sustainably forested. So if we are then looking at local alternatives, I would know, again, I don't think I'm the right person, or maybe not qualified enough to speak on the subject, but when you say there's a shortage or there's not enough supply of timber in India, I may take a slight difference with that and say that there is a timber supply, but there's not an organized market for it. So in terms of the grading, the cutting, the kiln drying, the processing, and saying, like, for example, we only started to learn about grading when we worked with Canadian wood. So how many, how at what spacing do you have knots? What is the variation or the dimensional stability that one can expect? And as far as I understand, all the wood which is coming to India from Canada via Canadian wood or anyone else is all kiln dried. So certainly dimensionally, it should be stable. So you shouldn't be having twisting, warping, etc., etc. Right?
Yeah,
then the other concern is, I think, about termites, which again, we love Burma teak because it has essential oils within it which prevent attacks from termites. Now, I was having this discussion with people from Canadian Wood, and he said, certainly within architecture, we need to treat that at the source. We need to treat the ground around. So we need to treat the foundations, the footings, you need to make sure that ideally if the wood is, well, ideally the wood doesn't go into the ground, it has a pin connection. But even if it does go into the ground, that you are treating the area around it for anti-termites, right? And even if you are doing that in interior use, we would also suggest a coating. And there are various coatings available, whether it is dipped, whether it is injected, brush applied. So I think you guys, as the technical support, would be able to give more info on that. But I'm not sure if that answers the question. But yeah, I think certainly if Indian timber were to be more organized and better graded, then certainly we should look for homegrown species as well.
Yeah, excellent answer. Actually, India is running short of timber, and of course, Canada has the largest spectrum of wood available. 5 different species we have. 3 of them are good for the interior applications, and the rest 2 cedars. They are good for the outdoor applications as well. So even without treatment, we can use the cedars for outdoor applications. That's actually an advantage while using Canadian timber. So next question is to architect Sanjiv De. One second. Yeah, Sanjiv, actually it's a compliment to start with. It's a nice PPT, and thank you for your wonderful presentation from the questioner. I'm just conveying that message to you. So the question is, do you foresee in future Indian architects would like to or looking forward to use mass timber for their future commercial or institutional projects in a big way? What's your outlook on that?
Yeah, so I think that's quite a bit of a continuity to the previous question and Pravin's response to it.
Yeah.
The answer is, I think the way I should address it is, as you have already said it, there is a shortage of timber in India. And why is the shortage of timber in India? Just because the policies from 1980s which came in of strong forest management have stopped us from cutting wood in our forests. And that's about right. It was high time we did that. But parallel to that, what we did not do as a country was grow wood for harvesting for construction. That never happened. Countries like Canada, Austria, and a few more such European countries, they have actually grown wood to cut and use for construction, which we did not do. A tree takes about 15 to, and Jimmy, you are an expert, you can correct me if I'm wrong, about 15 to 25 years or even 30 years from its time it is grown to reach a height of about 15 to 25 meters of height with a stem of about 25 centimeters, 250 mm to about 400 mm, before it becomes harvest worthy when you cut it and use it. So if we start the practice of sowing timber today for construction, it will take us 25 years till we get it. And that's all right. It's high time, but we should start it now. And meanwhile, we keep on importing timber. There is adequate timber available from the various countries, but we will become timber adequate once we start this process. So till then, we should keep on using timber. And there was an interesting analogy which I found out before I made the presentation. That is the amount of carbon that timber holds is much more than the amount of carbon emission from cutting it, dressing it, whatever work we do in the factory, and transporting it to a far distance. So we still don't lose. We should still use imported timber, harvested timber from sustainable forest managed areas till the time we have our own forest. But having said that, it will take us 25 years from the day we start.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. In fact, I just need to make a comment here. The 25 years of rotation period for plantation timber is true for certain species such as the radiata pine or the acacias here in India, or some other, rubber wood, for example, all those timber species. But the wood or the timber coming from Canada, they're all coming from natural resources, forest, and they're all allowed to harvest at a minimum age of 100 plus years. So what we are getting right now from Canadian resources are all well grown, mature, seasoned timber. When I say old growth timber, it is all very stable, and their performance are also good. So that's much superior compared to the short rotation plantation timber available in the market. So in one way, we need to look for more and more plantations in our country also, wherever land is available, so that our future generation will be benefited out of that activity. And if we start today by planting today, we plant, then after 20 years minimum, they will be available. So we can decrease the dependence on other resources. Thank you for your answer, Sanjeev, by the way. So the next question is going to architect Sanjay Goel. Yeah. In fact, it's part of your presentation. You have shown many examples of wood uses. Wood is the oldest and fastest renewable construction material. We all know that, but still it is losing the race against non-eco-friendly products. Why? Or what need to be done differently by solid wood companies to get that portion of the activity back? So how we can regain the popularity or the use of wood into the mainstream? That's the question.
Okay, sir, good question. We have seen that for the last 10-15 years, we are a bit losing. Earlier, there was no competition in residential or other segments from the UPVC or aluminium frames and sections. Although the use of wood is slightly decreased in the residential segment, we can say primarily, because we know India is having different climate zones. And I am from Punjab, where the temperature variation is from 2 degree to 45 degree. So people are really in a fix that what kind of wood timber they have to use. So in summers and winters, the behavior is different, because most of the Indian wood timber are not seasoned and dry. And people are in a hurry, like fast food, they construct their buildings and they are unable to get the good results towards the completion. And there are many negative points which have come up in the buildings, not only with regard to wood, but with regard to civil construction as well. We know the expansion and contraction ratio of different materials, which is not so into the Canadian wood. Wherever we are used, we are getting better results in our projects. So I hope so that with the passage of time, more hardwood will be used, and people will definitely prefer. Although for the exteriors, the percentage of wood uses has gone down, because we know that exteriors, especially the windows, facades, are having temperature variation more as compared to the internal interiors or partitions. So I hope that hardwood uses as well as softwood wood uses from all parameters will increase. There is a challenge in different areas from different climatic point of view, and architects and interior designers have the capability to come over that. But last but not the least, the taste of the consumer, of the client, of the customer, starting from young generation to the old senior citizens, the affection towards the wood is evergreen, and it is not going to be decreased. And people are demanding more and more wood for different purposes. I hope that it will remain in limelight for the coming years. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. This is a very reasonable answer to the question. Actually, another question to you, because this year's theme of this year's World Architecture Day is Architecture for Health. So, question is, what kind of wood is the best suited for health application or that particular segment? Do you have any suggestions or?
Okay. So the theme of this year is well-being or healthy buildings. This is a good topic, and definitely it is the duty of the architects and designers to design the total built environment in such a way that it has more positivity on our health. just not getting a disease means not a good health, but physically, mentally, the good sound health is more important. Wood is again a big component, as I have shared in my presentation. If the interiors are really wonderful and which the user also say that their output has increased many times with the right use of timber at different occasions or different parameters. So if the flooring and fall ceiling people in the office segment, their output has increased, if their workspaces and everything is well designed with proper wood at right time, whether it is engineered wood or softwood or hardwood, different applications. So this is all about from my side that we as architect have challenging time. Hardwood is also required in interiors, and softwood definitely the use is increasing day after day, and engineered wood we cannot avoid in our interiors. The overall thing is the building should be environment friendly, building should be green building, so that there is strong affection of interiors and exteriors, so that the total built environment is as healthy as possible. Thank you.
Excellent, sir. Actually, this is the conclusion of this entire deliberations we have here. The mixed use of wood, whether that is solid wood or hardwood or different formats of wood. So improve the quantity of wood we use in our structures, in our projects, in our product line. In fact, that will bring down the use of other non-eco-friendly materials. When we use more wood, we bring more eco-friendliness to the system. And wood brings warmth and well-being, as you rightly said. There are so many studies already done. So thank you, all of you, all the Architect Pravir Sethi, for your elaborate, detailed discussion and presentation on your projects using Western hemlock wood. Architect Sanjiv De to have an eye-opener in the field of structural use of timber, bringing mass timber or that component to the topic, and Architect Sanjay Goel for the elaborate and detailed presentation on the versatility of timber. Timber can be used for all the various applications, including the different properties of timber you elaborated. So thank you, all of you.
Sorry, Jimmy. I have Pranesh Chibbar joined in.
Okay.
Our country director, he would like to give the vote of thanks. You can introduce.
Oh, great, great. So we have our Pranesh Chibbar sir. He's our country director, and he was unwell, and he had an immediate appointment. That's why he could not attend. So I welcome Pranesh ji for attending the audience. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. Thanks a lot. Architect De, Architect Sethi, and Architect Goel, thank you very much for taking time out and agreeing to be on the panel. And of course, each of you, I just watched the end part of it. As Jimmy said, I was away for a appointment which was not scheduled. So apologies for not being able to attend the whole thing. I'm back. I'm good. Nothing to worry about. Let me close this seminar by saying that we at FII thank all three of the panelists who are here today, and also to the audience who have joined to hear this eminent set of panelists we have today with us on the webinar. It's really very interesting and gratifying to note the increasing role of wood in architecture. And as I was hearing some of them mention that the wood has been finding increased use, not only in interiors and cladding and paneling, etc., but also there's a very significant interest in building with wood, which is happening. And I'm sure, as we go along in the future, we will probably have a separate seminar or a webinar on building with wood exclusively. So thank you very much, all of you. And thank you for having taken time out. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks to all the participants also. And wish you all have a happy Architecture Day. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.